Hello. I have a lot to say this time. It's been a while since I've done one. And we have a new moon coming up on Tuesday. Here in San Francisco, it will be at 5:14 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And it's a pretty powerful one. Not only is the new moon itself not only are the aspects itself interesting in terms of the new moon, but right now we have some difficult aspects that are facing us all socially. There's the ongoing square between Pluto and Uranus, which I've talked about before. And currently, Saturn has recently moved into Sagittarius, which brings some difficulties for people in the early Sagittarians, early Geminis, early Pisces, and early Virgos in particular. But for everybody, this Saturn is making difficult aspects to Neptune and right now to Mars. So this brings up a lot for everyone. It brings up a lot emotionally. There can be a real sense of insecurity, a sense of failure, a sense that that you have to do all this stuff, but you can't do anything. You can't make yourself do anything. A lot of confusion about yourself, and emotionally, it can be a very vulnerable and difficult time. There can be hard emotions, a lot of sadness, grief, a sense of loss, a sense of lovelessness, and sometimes anger. Although this period of time would be good in terms of, as is usually the case, where Pisces and Neptune are involved in terms of spiritual practice or artistic endeavors, there can be real anger about what the results of that have been. And especially in terms of spiritual practice, there can be anger at God and a sense of isolation. That sense of isolation doesn't help any of us. We may all be feeling the same thing, but we all feel locked in our own sad world, sad or angry world. Some of the signs don't have to suffer as much. If you're an air sign, that would be Gemini, Aquarius, and Libra. It's a little bit easier for you because the new moon is in Aquarius, and some of the fire signs also have it easier. But in particular, there are a number of different ways to deal with this. First of all, with all the air sign energy, it's very important to get fresh air, to get out. And with Saturn in Sagittarius, one can feel like you just can't. There's too much you have to do. And there's nobody that you really feel connected to anyhow. But it's very important with the Aquarius energy to broaden your sense of what connection means. And even just to get out for a little bit, to make some sort of contact, to be out in the air. That's very, very important. The other thing with the Aquarian energy is to use the mind as a tool, to have, not to suppress your emotions, but to look at them kindly and differently, to not just fall into the impossible well that they may present, but to really observe them and ask yourself about them. To look, as I said, to look at them kindly and to some extent, perhaps analytically, to just observe what's going on. This brings to two other important tools in terms of dealing with this time, where there may be a sense of personal failure, personal crisis, and spiritual crisis as well, and a sense of loss and isolation, which is two questions. One of them is what's been lost? What is it that remains? This is not like, what else did you get, or what else do you still have? And it's different from just the gratitude for what you have, which is a very useful practice. But life is full of loss. What is it? What is it that is still there when even what has been most important is lost? What is that? Which leads to, one can say one knows that the answer is consciousness, but to ask that question of yourself, to really look deeper. There's this loss, there's these emotions, they're all valid. What lies beneath can bring you to your own sense. And another answer could be love. Now, this can be a time when you feel particularly devoid of love or loveless, or like you don't understand what love is, in spite of all the songs written about it. Uh, and that too, I think, is a good question to ask. What is love? What is the nature of love? And that could lead you to love is consciousness. That could lead you to reading Paul 1 to the Corinthians, which is pretty amazing. You know, love forgives all, love accepts all. Love is a pretty high standard there. But I myself, also going through this particular question, found myself asking, like when my son would say, I love you, I would say, well, what does that mean? What does that mean? And his answer was, first of all, he said, you know, I've told you the answer to this before. I said, okay, tell me again. And he said, it means I need you. It means I feel a sense of connection to you. And it means that I accept you for who you are, no matter what, even when I don't like what you're doing. I think that can be kind of a good working definition of love, especially when you face the notion of self-love. You obviously need yourself. You obviously feel a connection to yourself, whether you like that connection or not. And most of us are working on the part of it that has to do with accepting ourselves and knowing ourselves, but accepting that even when we don't like what it means. Both of these questions then end up being connected. To ask the question is to investigate what it means to be alive and what it means to be yourself, and without just saying what knowing what answers can be given, to really look into that is to open yourself up, not to denying the emotions that you feel, but to experiencing something else that can put them in a different perspective, which is very, very important in this period of time when emotions can override all sense of reality and all sense of any ability to do anything. Another important thing to remember is that in the face of feeling sometimes like there's no action that can be taken, and the depression that may lead to, little actions count. Just start something. It doesn't have to be big. Again, it won't be difficult for everyone, but for those for whom it is, I hope that you get some fresh air, and that asking those questions gives you something to work with. All right, I will talk to you soon. Have a good few weeks. Bye.